Hello guys, and welcome to a new Steel Division video today by me, Vulcan. Today I have for you a 2 versus 2 on Colleville, and this was a replay that was sent in. So let's have a look at the teams. On the ally side we have Lokar with the 3rd Armoured Division, Star Trooper with the 2nd Infantry, Dandin with the 17th SS Panzer Grenadier, and Tiger with the Panzer Lehr. So quite a nice combination of forces coming out in this one. And it'll be interesting to see where each player goes. I'm kind of feeling that the 17th SS and the Panzer Lehr will need to work together towards the start of the game to make this work properly. But so far it seems like Tiger's going to be deploying in the top town, and we're going to be having Dandin deploy in the bottom town with the 17th SS. Over on the other side of things we have Lokar taking the bottom town with the 3rd Armoured, and Star Trooper taking the top town with the 2nd Infantry. So I'm not entirely sure if there's going to be too much cooperation between players in this one. It wasn't made aware to me that there was any teams going on in this, so just a standard 2v2. We've got a 40-minute time limit with the 2,500 conquest points available, or to take basically, so that's what we're leading up to, 2,500 points. Let's have a quick look at the units going down here, starting with the SS Panzer Grenadiers. So we've got some recon squads. We're probably going to have some Stoss Troop moving into the town early on. MG there as well. A couple of Panzer Grenadiers most likely. These are probably IG-18s heading to the mid with an SPW-221 with more recon. We have our standard Panzer Grenadiers and a recon heading into the town from the Panzer Lehr. The Panzer Lehr does have to be careful that he doesn't lose too many troops early on, but he does have himself backed up with his 258s, which should be nice for dealing with infantry and buildings and helping him pin down enemy forces. He does have, I think, the better town because it allows him to just sort of deploy defensively at the top of it, and it's quite hard to push from this direction as the Allies. We look at the 17th SS, however, they have a lot harder time trying to push deep into the town because there's a lot more buildings they have to go up against. But same for the 3rd Armoured side of things. This is the easier town for the 3rd Armoured and the harder town for the 2nd Infantry. So the 3rd Armoured player is bringing in multiple M3 half-tracks and the M3A1 half-track with the Command Infantry. So it's going to be armoured rifles probably moving into the bottom side of the town, supported by an M5A1 Stuart and the mortar carriers. Also got lots of recon spreading out as well. Have a quick look at these orders. They're all fast move orders actually, not unload at position orders, which I think is fair enough. Like, fast move orders are generally a lot better, and if you can like shift unload, then it works out quite nicely. Whereas on the side of Dandin, we're going to be seeing unload at position orders for the AT guns and IG-18s. And we've got plenty of infantry going straight into the town. But currently, Tiger's got all of his units on a fast move order towards the defense beacon of Tiger. That's interesting. I'm not sure why his defense beacon was over here, but either way, going to be bringing up his troops quite far up. These 258s really need to stop, or they're going to just drive into an ambush and probably surrender. Yeah, just surrendered instantly. Pack 38s. Hopefully we'll deal with the M7 with these, because that is 2 M7s at the start of the game. They could very easily tear these Pack 38s to shreds. Down on the bottom side, not too much going on. Panzer Grenadiers engaging some armoured rifles. The half-tracks will help out there, but I'm really interested to see how much damage these M7s can do. They do have a limited amount of ammunition on those 50 cals, but with their main guns, they'll be deleting these Panzer Grenadier squads in no time. There's only one Pack 38 left here as well. Look at those M7WDs go. Absolutely crazy. So a good space of units in the mid from Dandin. Would like to see him moving these IGs forwards and the Pack 38s, because he is coming up against a lot in the town, and I think he can see this. So pushing forwards with the fire position or fire support units in the mid would be a nice idea. But let's keep it on the normal perspective, and we'll see that the MG42 is doing a decent job at pinning down some infantry here. I think there's an armoured rifles and an armoured leader like sitting right next to each other. And it looks like the armoured leader went down there, since it didn't actually get into the building. So is that no veterancy left for the armoured rifles? Or has that unit just hidden behind the armoured rifles in the building? I'm not entirely sure. Either way, the M7's still pushing up very hard. The Pak 38 has been destroyed. The 251-1 has been bailed out and killed by the M1 gun now. And with the amount of damage that those M7s have done, I would definitely like to see these rifles try and push forwards, because yeah, they made a lot of damage happen there at the start. Both the Pak 38's getting taken out. IG-18's going to take out an M1 gun on the top side of the town down here. 221 has a decent chance of killing off a lot of these half tracks, so that would be a nice idea to use that 221 more aggressively here to try and take on these half tracks if he can engage the armoured rifles with the Stosstroop, which is definitely something that he might be able to do. Get the smoke grenades down from the Stosstroop and move up to these buildings, take on the rifles at a close range. And the rifles will really struggle, as they will only be able to really use the 6 HE at their disposal, which is terrible compared to the 18 HE that the Stosstroop has. So another Pak 38 coming up into position here. Got to be very careful that he doesn't move that into line of sight of one of these M7s before he gets the kill shot, because these M7s, they are 2-star with the help of this Ranger leader, which will make a massive difference. And there you can see, I think the M7's just about to get line of sight onto the Pak 38, and if that gets the first shot off, that Pak 38 is going to be pinned down almost instantly. And there you go, it's dead already. And that's exactly what I was worried about there. So in that case, what you want to do is have the Pak 38 just sort of remain on return fire. But now it looks like Tiger's actually going to be bringing up a Panzerfaust squad up there, so that should help out. Command squad going down there, that's not ideal for Dandin. We could definitely be a lot more aggressive with the Stosstroop, I feel, with the smoke grenades. Panzer Grenadier is doing a good job against the armoured rifles at the moment though. That 221 could probably get line of sight onto the mortar carrier, honestly, if it moved down. That would be nice. But yeah, Panzerschreck is a nice idea. Not entirely sure where he's going with it though. I think remaining defensive here as the Panzerlehr is the better choice. So having the Panzerschreck squad in the town, able to hit the M7 as soon as they come into range, is probably a better idea. Stosstroop moving up there, taking out the Stuart, and now the Stosstroop should be able to engage and kill off a lot of these armoured rifles very quickly. However, the mortar carriers are coming in with their fire, which is going to help pin down the Stosstroop, and if these Stosstroop do get pinned down, they're going to surrender, because there is no command nearby. However, the armoured rifles here are currently pinned down as well, so not currently making them surrender just yet. M8 Scott being hit pretty hard by the 221, and he's going to get the kill. Lovely job there. This 221 again can be very aggressive now. If he can get the Stosstroop to kill off these armoured rifles, he doesn't have to worry about the bazooka, and he can take out those mortar carriers very easily, and that's a large amount of points invested into the mortar carriers early on. Yes, the 50 cals will be able to do a little bit of morale damage, but if he lets that regain its morale there, then we should be okay. But bazooka coming in, hitting the 221, needs to move forwards the Stosstroop. Again, he can afford to be very aggressive with them, because he does have the smoke grenades that will cover them off. Got a Panzerwerfer coming in on the top side here. That's going to be targeting the M7s, I believe. We got a couple of Ranger Marauders moving over in the top side, assisted by some rifles and an M1 gun. So it looks like they're going to be trying to put the pressure on, as the Allies have gained the +1 now with the 51% territory lead. Stosstroop are taking out one of the M3 half-tracks there, and are busy killing off some of these armoured rifles. You can see just how much damage they do, and they don't even have a grenade. IG-18 also helping out there as well. Those IG-18s, they could be moved forwards, I think. If they had anything to worry about in this tree line, they probably would have known about it already. And these Panzer Grenadiers could check for them anyway. 221 is going for the kill onto the mortar carrier and is going to get it. Lovely stuff there. Stug 3 coming up, but that's being hit by the mortar. But will help pin down and kill off that armoured rifle unit. Panzer Grenadier is going to be taking out the M1 gun most likely. So I feel like Dandin, he just needs to siege this initiative at the moment. He's taken a lot of kills from Lokar. Like, Lokar's letting him kill off a lot of his units. This 221 has the chance to just destroy all of the half tracks and allow his infantry to move forwards, but he's not doing that quite yet. A little bit worried about what Tiger's going to try here. He's got a Panzerschreck in a bit of an odd position here. I'm not entirely sure what that's going to be firing at. Unless something comes down this road, he's not really going to get a shot onto this M7. He needs another Panzerschreck in the town for sure. He does have the Panzer Grenadiers with the Panzerfaust, but 250 meters is a lot more effective than 150 meters in terms of the AT weapons that they possess. But again, I feel like Dandin's being very passive. He's not trying to push up when he definitely could push up. Like, that is armoured rifles squads. His SOS troop just outclassed them anyway, and you should know that going into this matchup. But aside from that, just the fact that he's seen how much he's killed, that should give him an indication that he can be aggressive. So 221's making a probing attack here, and can probably have the Stug 3 helping out as well. Because he does have to be careful that the 50 cals don't actually kill off the 221s, because they definitely have the chance to. Currently the +1 for the Allies mainly being caused by this small salient on the top side of the map. Be interesting to see if Star Trooper tries to probe that even more. It looks like he is going to be going for the attack move with these units further up on that top side. More reinforcing infantry coming in for the 3rd Armoured. Armoured rifles still very free to fire at whatever they want here, even though, come on, move forwards that SOS troop. One building and you can reveal all of these units. Spear troop getting hit by the Bofors there. 257 coming in on the top side now. Nebelwerfer coming out. And that's going to be killing off another AT gun up the road. Again, another really nice kill. And finally, we are going to be seeing the Panzer Grenadiers move up here. Just drop the smoke on the SOS troop and get those moving. That's what I'd like to see right now. Scouts on the bot side, probably going to be killed off by the Spear troop. Fantastic. I also like the fact that he's picked up the Nebelwerfer here. Just needs to make sure that he moves it and unloads it in a timely fashion. Otherwise he's kind of wasting the reload time there. Panzer Grenadiers, I don't think they're going to spot the movement of these Ranger Marauders on the top side. So Tiger's going to be in a little bit of trouble if he allows those Ranger Marauders to get around behind him and sort of ambush his reinforcement line. That could be a very big issue. Dandin's, oh, that's actually Dandin's Panzer Grenadiers there. They might help with the rifles slightly, but that's about it. SOS troop trying to move up here. I think they're trying to run into range of these half tracks, but they're going to get pinned down and forced to surrender. Those SOS troop can move up and take out a lot of these rifles in the open. There you go. That's all you needed to do. Get the SOS troop up there, and that's 2 squads of armoured rifles killed just like that. He can also take out this M3 half track, and he's also enabled his IG-18 to take out the scouts for him, so he doesn't even have to do that. Fantastic. So now this is where progress can really be made. M7 being brought up, more artillery. Not entirely sure if that's worth bringing up. 221 going for the penetrating kill there with the 8 AP power. Going to force the M7 to fall back. Going to get plenty of shots. Might even get the kill. Actually going to kill off a half track instead. Can he get the kill onto the M7? Transmission damage. That 221 unfortunately isn't very accurate. Loads of infantry coming over here from Tiger. We have moved into phase B, so he's able to bring up even more Panzer Grenadiers, but I feel like he's going to let a lot of them be wasted against these Bofors, which isn't great. Not too much aggression going on the top side though. Yes, there's a bunch of Tigers being hit by Bofors, but otherwise not too much to worry about. Looks like the Panzerwerfer is going to be coming in here and hitting that Bofors. Would be kind of nice as well if it hit the M5 gun. Now we're going to be seeing some engineers come in from Lokar. And hopefully you can start to bring this back, because you can see just how precarious this position is for Lokar. Yes, we are in neutral perspective, so Dandin might not know how little units there are left, but he could still push forwards with these Stoßtruppe, for example. Like the front line here would tell you that there's no units in these buildings, which allows you to push forwards. If they get caught out, you can smoke them. That's the beauty of the Stoßtruppe. The 221 definitely has a good chance of taking out the M21, so I'd like to see that happen. And the Stug 3 could also be moving up and assisting with taking out these units. More reinforcements are on the way. It looks like a couple of extra Panzer Grenadier squads there and some AA. I like the use of AA here because he wants to solidify his position in this town. But at the moment, looks like on the very top side, Tiger's going to be ignoring the attack beacons out of Dandin. So Dandin is going to be forced to bring in some Panzer Grenadiers to stem the tide of infantry flooding over the top side of the map. But so far, so good for Dandin. He's definitely making ground in the town. Lokar, what he needs to do is bring up probably more of these engineers, honestly. Engineers are very good for this situation. They work well in close combat, and they have a nice amount of HE to deal with enemy infantry. So bringing in more engineers is definitely a choice that I would make in this situation. Bringing up the Shermans, maybe not so much, because Stugs, they have a very good chance of killing your Shermans. Unless you can get your Sherman close enough to really use the aim time, Stugs will always win out. And as you can see up here, the rifles have started to cause a very large influence. Ranger Marauders could definitely be moved sort of down and into the town. The great thing about Marauders is that they're high veterancy bazooka units and they don't affect the front line. So he could easily just run those like through a gap in the front line, come back and just ambush all of these units. Like the artillery here, he knows there's a Panzerwerfer, he knows there's a Tiger. So it's definitely something he could take advantage of. Gabi's going to be forced back there by the Flak 36, and it looks like Dandin's bought 2 Focke-Wulf 190s. So he has those at his disposal. Severe lack of aggression here though. He has the superior numbers of infantry, he has the superior tanks, and unless he lets it get to phase C, there's not too much he has to worry about in terms of the 3rd Armoured. The 3rd Armoured can bring in lots more engineers, which would be nice, but I don't see the 3rd Armoured player doing that just yet. The other thing that also needs to be invested in the town is recon, because that will enable him to discover any infantry squads before they are in range to fire. 221 likely taken out by the Stuart, not the Stuart, the Sherman, sorry, and will be. 3-star Stug going to be bouncing off the front of the M4A3. Shooter knocks out, very nice. And we're going to be seeing a Ju-87 come in. Looks like the Focke-Wulf 190 took the brunt of the MGMC there. And that Ju-87 might even go down. Never mind. I think that CGMC, or MGMC in that position, has its line of sight blocked onto those planes. Otherwise it most likely would have shot them down. Especially considering they got so close. But either way, kind of feel like Tiger's dropped the ball a lot on the top side. Star Trooper's trying to make the most out of it. He's finally going to be bringing down the Marauders into the town. And they might be able to get a good shot onto these Panzerwerfers. This M7 might spoil the day though, if it starts to fire on these units, because that would basically tell Tiger that they are going to come under fire. We've got the Observer Panzer IV here, going to be engaging the M4A1. Does have a good chance of taking out the M4A1 if it doesn't get forced to fall back beforehand. Bailed out, nice. Tiger's done his job there. But Star Trooper on the other side of things is doing very well, taking advantage of the land he's being given in the top side. Looks like one of the Stugs went down to one of the M4A3s. You can see it's burning wreck in the middle of the town. And we're starting to see an engagement of a lot of these half-tracks and infantry squads. So I'd like to see more aggression here. I'd love to see these Panzer Grenadier squads that aren't doing anything, just attack moving forwards. They don't have Panzerfaust, so they can't really deal with the half-tracks. But bring in more of those recon squads with the 221s, and they are like the perfect thing for taking on half-tracks. They really are. Those 221s are perfect for that situation. The Stug 3 here, taking out that other M4A3 there. Doing a great job. So, at the moment, it was +1 for the Allies, sort of jumping between 50-50 and 51% towards the Allies. And they are starting to rack up some serious points, 680 points in the favour of the Allies. SOS Troop are trying to make a move forwards, and will be damaged quite significantly by the engineers there. I think going across that road, smoke was definitely needed. Down here, the M3A1 half-track can just do whatever it likes. This 120mm mortar is actually in line of sight of the T30 there. It's also in line of sight of the Stug. So we're going to be seeing the Stug engage the T30 and kill it. And then picking up another kill there. Ranger Marauder squad getting into a very nice position here. If he can get that into the building, Tiger's going to be having problems. His Panzerwerfer will likely get killed. This rifle squad just wandering forwards as well, giving the +1 back to the Allies once again. Stug 3 having a go at the M4A3 now. Needs to make sure that doesn't fall back. It could continue that engagement for sure. Ranger Marauders now sneaking all the way up to the Panzerwerfer there. But there is some Panzer Grenadiers on the way. Track's broken. Not the most ideal critical hit, as the Ranger Marauders do come under fire. And now, since the Panzerwerfer is actually pinned down, wow, they did change target and attack the half-track there. They also missed that rocket. They're going to take out the recon aircraft, the recon vehicle there, and the M7 did take out the Panzerwerfer, but the Marauders only have one Zuka shot left. And now the 257 has moved away, and they just used it up onto the 251 there. So the Ranger Marauders, not so much of an issue anymore. Going to be seeing the Ju-87s come in from Dandin. Probably took out a unit or two. Looks like they hit the M4A3. It is no longer here. Stug 3 is still alive though. And now we're into like phase B. It looks like Dandin also has pioneers, like the like Lokar has engineers. So using pioneers to push forwards in this situation, very, very good idea. They have the MG for the longer range engagements, and they also have the 100 meter 20 HE grenade, but the Calliope there going to be firing away, actually killing off the Pioneers, took out the command infantry, and it looks like that Calliope is going to do a lot of damage throughout this game. Multiple P-38 Lightnings coming in actually. They're going to be dropping their bombs onto that command unit, and wow, all of the commands have just been killed off for Dan Din, so gonna have to be bringing in some more of those to make sure that he can continue to have the higher veterancy on his Stugs and his infantry. There's also a Pack 43 coming up. I'm kind of feeling this is a bit overkill, especially when you have 2 Stugs at this kind of range. It's also very static, and since there's a Calliope on the field, you don't really want it to be there. I guess he would have called it in before he knew there was a Calliope, but still. More infantry is definitely what you need at this point. To just push through, kill off all of the units that kind of just been avoiding taking on. And the aggression is definitely lacking. Let's see if they can recover this top side though. Tiger's finally putting some infantry towards the top side, and this will allow him to discover and kill off the rifles that have been causing the salient in the front line. He's also got this 251-9, which brings in the command infantry, and they're really, really nice for destroying units as well as like AT guns, for example, because they have such high veterancy. They have 6 AP and 9 HE power, so they also do a lot of damage to like the infantry. It's just fantastic. Pioneers there at that range probably will blow up some of these armored LMG rifles, unless they get mown down by the M3A1 half-track. IG-18 is finally rolling forwards in the mid. That IG-18 might be able to do some damage against the half-track there, although I feel like the half-track got the jump onto the IG-18, so the IG-18's probably going to have to fall back in that situation. Stug 3 still has line of sight down the road, so going to be firing at the next M4A3 to challenge it. More infantry is coming up in the form of Panzer Grenadiers or Pioneers. I think those might be Pioneers. Got to be careful he doesn't let them get surrendered by the LMG rifles though. They're actually Panzer Grenadiers. At that range, got to be very careful, because the 30 cal could definitely rip to shreds the Panzer Grenadiers. Although it doesn't look like they're firing because they have reached the minimum range, which is pretty lucky for Dan Din, honestly. Going to be seeing the Calliope fire once again. The Pack 43 already down to 3 health here. Calliopes in this situation are just so damn good. They really are. It's definitely going to stop the advances from these infantry now and give Lokar a good chance to get back into this game. Because we're now working with Phase C, where Lokar has 150 points every minute to work with. ME-109 G2 BRs coming in. BU-88 tried to bomb out the M7 there. Quite a lot of AA now though. Got 2 MGMCs, and they definitely do a lot of damage very quickly. IG-33 going to be dropped off. You can see the JU-87, that's going to be coming in for a shot onto the resupply truck. Bit of an odd choice in my opinion. Might even have his JU-87 shot down, but it looks like it's just about going to get away. Very damaged though. Most of the infantry in the top side has now been cleaned out by Tiger. And again, since we moved into Phase C, his income is now shot up to 150. So he has all the chance in the world now to keep pushing forwards. These Marauders, all they have is their Thompson submachine guns to use. He no longer has to worry about them sniping his tanks and so on. He can just make the heavy push towards the front line, and it's currently a +1 for the Axis side of things now. 13 minutes left on the clock. Can they turn this around? Currently the Allies in a definitive lead of 893 points. It's just a matter of whether or not Tiger can push up on the Star Trooper. The Star Trooper is bringing in a lot of reinforcements, the 2nd Infantry player here. He did lose his initiative up in the top side, and it looks like he has been storing a lot of points, but he's now having them brought in, and that P-38 Lightning Strike was absolutely gorgeous onto all of that infantry. There's also more Ranger Marauder squads coming up, which can deal with the 259 and also the Befehl Panzer IVs. Got to be a little bit worried about this infantry all clumped up here. That's going to get hit by the mortar. Gabby coming in to pin down the Flak 88 in the bottom side. Looks like Lokar's made a little bit of ground with his infantry, but these Panzer Grenadiers free to roll up this tree line towards the forest area. Ranger Marauders, can they take out the Befehl Panzer IV? No, they can't. They missed. I haven't seen Ranger Marauders miss so much in a very long time. And those Ranger Marauders aren't going to last very long, as the Panzer Grenadiers do get onto line of sight. We also had the Panzer IV firing away there. There's also some Pioneers coming up, 3-star Pioneers, which will be able to deal with the Marauders. He might lose that Befehl Panzer IV, but those Marauders aren't going to live. Not with a Pioneer squad that close to them. Just going to force them to surrender, I think. Yeah, there we go. Oh, a lovely bombing strike once again. Took out 3 Pioneer squads and a Command Infantry squad. Really, really well played there with those P-38 Lightnings. There's not enough AA on this top side to stop that from happening. There's one Flak 88, but in the reload time, it allows those P-38s to come in and get those sneaky bombing strikes. IG-33 still sitting here doing a lot of damage. Stug 3 has moved up. He's going to come up against a Jumbo by the looks of things. Jumbo will be able to take out the IG-33 quite easily. Now, if they're going to be firing away, that's going to be trying to hit the T-30 and the Calliope. We also saw a rocket there land on those engineers, with the Jumbo taking out that Stug at such close range. And we've got a Focke-Wulf G1 coming in. Tiger returning the favour with his bombing strike, which is going to take out 1 infantry squad. Looks like there was a lot of infantry that died here as well, though. You can see the absolute carnage. But yeah, rockets being fired on both sides of the bottom. Seems they're just sort of trading the Calliope and Nebelwerfer barrages backwards and forwards. Not too much ground being taken either way. A 53% territory lead now for the Axis, since this Panzer Grenadier has caused the front line to be pushed in on the bottom side of the map. So it looks like a stark contrast to the sort of first 20-25 minutes of the game. We're now seeing one infantry squad do the same thing in the bottom side, and the Axis are slowly catching up to the Allies' score. So what can the Allies do at this point? Well, it looks like Star Trooper is going to be relying on these off-map artillery units, which is a reasonably nice idea. If he can destroy a lot of the infantry of the Panzer Lehr, he'll have a nice chance of pushing his own infantry into the town and making a lot of ground, because the Panzer Lehr will be relying so much on heavier units and just vehicles in general. So they won't be able to contest the infantry properly. So I think that's quite a nice choice. Bringing in all of those off-map, that many might be a bit overkill, but still, we'll see. And down in the bot side, basically what Lokar has to do is make sure that he does his Calliope strikes and then pushes in infantry straight after. And unloading all of this infantry here, I'm not sure was quite the best idea. I think he's unloaded it early, just so that he can like attack move them in certain positions, which is fair enough, but you could definitely unload them like here, for example, at least on the edge of these tree lines, so that they are in cover as they run towards these Panzer Grenadiers. Probably doesn't know that Panzer Grenadiers there at the moment, but I'm sure he'll soon find out. Calliope's going to be firing away shortly. That one's only got 1 rocket, so it's not going to be firing much. This one's going to be giving us a full barrage, I think. Currently aiming at the Stug 3. Nebelwerfer going to be hitting the LMG rifles as they come in. But yeah, an interesting thing to do with Lokar at the moment in the 3rd Armoured would just be like push with these engineers and bring in obviously his Stuart, hit the Calliope onto where you know the units are, and then just push up. And at the moment he's just been delayed by the Nebelwerfer, but I feel like he's wasting the Calliope onto the Stug here. That's not really helpful. You want to be hitting where the infantry is, because then you actually get the kills there. So, Focke-Wulf 190s coming in, ME 109, 2 Ju-87s. One's going to be going for a kill onto the Calliope here. Actually, he's going for the kill onto the Jumbo, but it's going to get shot down by the Mustangs and the overwhelming AA. Focke-Wulf 190 is on the tail of one of the Mustangs, but is going to be forced to fall back. This Mustang going to be stunned up by the flak Berlin. Not before it shoots down the Ju-87. Those Mustangs did a fantastic job there. And the Focke-Wulf 190 went down as well. So both Mustangs going to get out alive, killed 2 Ju-87s. And it looks like Gabby might come in and take out a Focke-Wulf 190 G1 as well. Yep, he took down one. Definitely got a chance to shoot down the second. And he does so. Wow, that air engagement was absolutely catastrophic for the Axis side of things. P-38 Lightning's now coming in with their bombing strikes. Looks like he's going for the kill shots onto the PaK-43s. One of the P-38s got stunned up just before it could drop its last 2 bombs, so one of the PaK-43s stayed alive, but the second one dying. I feel like instead of going for the kills though, Lokar definitely needs to be focusing on the front line here, where he wants to be taking care of the Pioneers and the Engineers. The Engineer's going to get a satchel into the Pioneer's face and is going to blow up the building. The Pioneers do have their own grenades and did use one already. They're just got to wait for that reload. Nebelwerfer coming in on top of the Jumbo and the M4A3 there. Got to make sure that your tanks don't drive back into the flames automatically. You've got to keep them driving forwards just to avoid those flames. The bottom side here, we've got some scouts taking on some spear troop at close range. Pretty even matchup, honestly, at close range. Although the scouts are able to use the Thompson and the carbine at the same time. M8's also going to help out in that situation. P-38 coming along again. Going to go for the bombing strike onto the PaK-43, or is that going to go for the Nebelwerfer? It hits the Nebelwerfer. Really nice job, but the ME 109 G2 is going to shoot that down. So those P-38s have done a lot of work throughout the game, so it was nice to see that until that one got shot down. I think there's 2 left on the side of the Allies, but they've really got to stop this front line from being pushed in. At the centre, Tigers managed to get some infantry up here with Dan Din's recon, so that's forcing a little bit of the front line back in the mid. We've got Dan Din moving all of these Panzer Grenadiers up this tree line, which has helped out a lot. And at the top side, again Dan Din's infantry taking the front line forwards. So again, you just got to get these off-map artillery units to hit the right locations, and then you have a decent chance of moving into the town and taking on the vehicles that are there. Especially if you kept a couple of the Marauder squads alive. It looks like they're all dead now, but if he had kept some of those alive, or maybe even used his AT guns, he might be able to ambush some of the units in that town. Meanwhile, down on the bottom side, more infantry coming in for Dan Din, alongside what looks like another IG-33 this time. He's going to be trying to kill off the rifles here and the scouts. But Lokar is making ground, just got to be careful. The PaK-43 here, it's probably going to kill off the M4A3 or the Jumbo. Looks like he's going to be targeting the Jumbo maybe? Yeah, engine destroyed and falling back. So he gets a chance to take out the M4A3. although the M4A3 has a decent chance to actually shut down the back 43 with its 50 cal. The Stug 4 coming in to help out as well. Just needs to get on target and they'll be able to take out both of those units. So the infantry in the centre was taken out. Alcala still alive there. But it looks like as we move to the last 2 minutes of the game, the Axis team is going to come up to the same amount of points as the Allies, and I don't see them getting any more than the Allies this late in the game. Not significant amount enough to cause them to have a victory anyway, so it looks like it's going to be a draw. And after all this, that's where we're going to have to leave it. 2 minutes left on the clock. VulcanHDGaming is in the town here. This is where players actually start to move up their units more aggressively and find out that there isn't anything ahead of them. This is that phase of the game. Lightnings didn't drop their payload. Not by the looks of things. It looks like a lot of off-map coming in towards the VulcanHDGaming and the Panzer IV. Just going to be forcing all of that to fall back. And just so you guys know, don't overlap your off-map. It's an absolute waste. Like, you could have put that off-map. Like, Star Trooper could have put that off-map. Like, one here, one here, one here. And then he would know that when he advances, all of the stuff he's advancing towards would be stunned and panicked. Also, it means that some of the buildings are actually still alive for you to go into. But I think in the continuation of this game, the Allies have a decent chance of pushing back towards the Axis here, because I feel like the Panzer has run out of infantry. And the 17th SS stand-in, he's having trouble holding this town against these Calliopes, which is fair enough since the Calliopes are incredibly obnoxious, but still. The initiative was not taken early on, and Dandin definitely could have been a lot more aggressive. All in hindsight, of course. If you're a little bit less experienced at the game, then you're not going to be aware of how much you've killed and how much you're up against. But I would generally, as like a rule in general, make sure you keep aware of what you've killed, because it definitely gives you a nice idea of how hard you can push. But there we have it. After 40 minutes, I think it was a draw, yes it was. And we have no conclusive winner. But a very nice game nonetheless. And I can tell you guys that Dandin was the player who sent in the replay, so thank you to you. And I think just a lack of aggression down there was the main reason why the 17th SS didn't take the town. Whereas in the top side, Tiger was maybe overly aggressive with his infantry. Especially at the start of the game, he was being pretty aggressive, when ideally you want to be defensive in Phase A as a Panzer and then build up towards B and C. He also kind of dropped the ball with the top side, letting the salient occur, and the 2nd Infantry just come in there with a couple of rifle squads and a couple of range and marauder squads, getting his Panzerwerfer basically ambushed. That wasn't ideal. The mistakes on both sides, I think. I think Lokar, he had the right idea with the Calliopes, but there was a lot of things he could have done earlier on to sort of prevent the 17th SS from pushing if they had, like bring in more of those engineers. Those engineers are actually really nice against Stosstroop and also just Panzer Grenadiers and Pioneers in general, because they generally trade 1 for 1. So, yeah. Then moving into Phase C, you have the Calliopes to just clean things up. Even a Calliope in Phase B, for example, would have been great. And definitely allows you to do the damage. But either way, there you have it, guys. A Star Trooper, really nice kill death. 3,235 kills to 1,785 losses, and standing on the Axis side with 3,040 kills to 2,575 losses. Shouldn't have relied so much on the Pack 43s, but lost a lot of them in the process. Either way, hopefully you guys enjoyed this one. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.